everybody, welcome to this video tutorial. Today we're going to look at how to create a login system for our website. We need the system because there are some operations, for example the delete operation, that we don't want ordinary users to be able to do. We only want admin users to be able to delete a record from the database. So when we click login in the nav bar, we're going to jump to a new page, login.php. We're going to enter our username and password. When we click submit, we're going to reload the page with the posted data. We're going to check if the posted data is in a table called users, the username and the password. If the posted data is there, we're also going to check if that user has an admin role. And if the user has an admin role, we're going to start a session. And we're going to give that user a session variable. And we'll be able to use that session variable to control what the user can and cannot do within the website. Okay, so in today's tutorial, we are going to be looking at sessions and session variables. We're also going to create a logout page, which will kill the session and delete all of the session variables. And effectively, that will mean that you're no longer logged into the system. Now don't worry if none of that makes sense at the moment. Hopefully as we go through the tutorial it will start to make sense. The first thing we need to do is design our users table in our database. I'm going to use SQL to create my table, and as usual I can never remember how to do these things, so a little bit of research, how to create a table. I grabbed some code, I pasted it into my SQL and I edited it. My users table will have 3 fields. Username, password, and role, and username will be primary key. When I ran this query, I got my users table. Currently it's empty, so I'm going to insert a couple of sample users, Mr. Musi, hello, and the role is admin. So remember, Mr. Musi is going to be admin. Our other user, Jackie Jack, whose email is Jackie, not admin. His role is guest. So remember this information as we continue the tutorial. Okay, Mr. Musi is admin, but Jackie Jack is just a guest. Okay, so there we've got our 2 users in the users table. Let's continue. All right. So what I've already done is updated the navbar in index.php to have this login link. Let's go and have a look. Index.php. It's the only change I've made. Just added that to the navbar. Let's go and look at login.php. Don't worry about this starter code up here. We'll talk about this in a moment. Hopefully it's familiar to you. What I have done is created the login form. Okay, now what I just explained, I used the W3 CSS to do this. What I did was I went to W3 CSS, I was messing around, I found the examples section, and in the examples section I found input cards. Whoa, that looks pretty cool. So I copied all of that code, pasted it into here we go, into the body of my page, and I just edited it. Remember, the form needs a method and an action. We're just going to reload login.php as the action. Our inputs need names so that when we post the data to PHP, PHP can grab the name. So we've got that for username and password. And I also created a submit type of input, which is the button. Okay, so let's go and look at the result of that. Yay, it looks pretty good. So now we just need to figure out what to do when we click submit. So let's go back to login.php. If some data was posted to the server, that means we clicked submit, basically. We're going to grab the posted data, username and password. Remember, that's these 2 fields here in the form. And we're going to run a query. Select everything from users, so that's username, password, and role, where the username in the database table is the same as the posted data, and the password is the same as the password. If that's true, we will get one row of data in our query result. It's only going to be one row because username is the primary key. So each username is unique. So we're guaranteed to get one row as long as these credentials are correct. So let's include that in our next logic. If the result has a number of rows which is greater than 0, we could say or is 1. That means the credentials are correct. So if that's true, let's just grab that row using fetch association. Now we need to check if the admin is, if the role is admin. Okay, the credentials are correct, that's great, but is the role admin? We need to check that as well. So if within the row that we've just grabbed, the role field is the same as admin, that means we've got a valid administrator. Okay, if we've got a valid administrator, we're going to start a session. And by starting a session, we can create what's known as a session variable. And I'm going to call my session variable admin. And I'm going to assign the username to this session variable. Now, at the moment, the username, the value that we assign isn't very important at the moment. The important thing is this person now has a session variable called admin, and we can use this session variable to control what this user can and cannot do. So we'll look at how to use the session variable as we go through this tutorial. Okay? Now then, this person has logged in successfully, so let's send that person back to a location which is going to be index.php. Just send them back to the home page. They've logged in successfully. Now, if we didn't get any rows, it means the credentials, these login credentials, are not correct. So let's just echo that. Invalid credentials, and let's just send them, let's give them a link so they've got an option to go back to the home page. Okay. Okay. So invalid credentials, click home to go back to index. That's basically what we're saying. And let's exit the loading of this web page. We don't want to reload the form again. You might want to. I don't want to. So I'm just going to exit the loading of the page at this point. Okay. Oh, in fact, if the role is admin, we're going to create the session. But if it's not admin, we're just going to do these two things again. But let's echo, you are not admin. And we'll give them an option to jump back to the home page, and we'll exit the loading of this web page. Okay. So let's see if this logic works. Let's go back to index.php. I'm going to log in. I'm going to put in some rubbish. Invalid credentials. Invalid. We're being sent back home. Let's try and log in again. Jackie Jack is going to try and log in. Now remember, Jackie Jack is not admin. He's guest. Oh, you are not admin. Good, okay. And finally, let's test it with Mr. Moosey. Yay! We're in, I think, because we got redirected back to index.php. Okay. Okay, now that is the end of part 1 of this tutorial series. We're going to continue in part 2, where we're going to do a little trick to change that word to log out. If we're logged in, I want that to say log out. And if we're logged out, I want that to say log in. Okay? So that's what we're going to look at in the next tutorial. And we're also going to look at, we can only delete things from the database table if we're logged in as an admin. So we're going to be looking at that session variable that we created to help us do that. So stay tuned for part 2, and in the meantime, see if you can get part 1 working.